ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्यति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त श्रीराधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. On behalf of ISKCON Chennai, I am happy to welcome all of you for this 10th session of Bhagavad Gita as it is certification course. Today's chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. So Krishna starts the chapter with a very important information which he repeats again and again, which is no one can know Krishna unless Krishna wills him to know. And whom does Krishna will to know? Only his pure, unalloyed devotees. Those who are in a mood of friendship and service with Krishna, in the mood of rendering service to Krishna, and who are non-envious. Only such people are qualified to know about Krishna. And to such people, Krishna, with great love, reveals more and more and more of himself. So in Gita, as I informed, starting from chapter 7, we are entering into the innermost secrets of Krishna. We have just opened the treasure box up to chapter 6, and in chapter 7 onwards, we are examining the contents of treasure inside. So this is simply not accessible to everyone. You might say, no, Bhagavad Gita as a book is everywhere. Anybody can go to a shop and buy. Yes, but this is a very mystical book. The book contains the spoken words of Lord Krishna, and they are locked by him personally. It will be unlocked only when the person who is approaching Gita has the right mood. Otherwise, it will be the case of someone who is trying to taste honey in a sealed bottle. He can just lick it from outside, or he can examine the bottle upside down, but he will never get the taste of the content. This is how Bhagavad Gita is also locked. So many people have written reviews or commentaries on Bhagavad Gita without understanding Krishna. All these commentaries are useless, and all the people who try to learn from those scholarly commentaries are also wasting their time. So here Krishna tells Arjun, now I will reveal to you more of my glories. So every time Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, you will observe it says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So it doesn't say Krishna Uvacha. Krishna is Bhagavan. So Vyasadeva wants us to remember constantly it is the Supreme Lord speaking. That is why we take his words seriously. Bhagavan means one who is full of opulences, unlimited opulences. It is like an endless ocean, no shores, no bottom. Such an opulence treasure he is. So he is just revealing some of them to us through Arjun. Now let us enter from the second shloka. न मे विदु सुरगणा प्रभवं न महर्षयः अहमादिर्हि देवानां महर्षीणां च सर्वसः. Again. न मे विदु सुरगणा प्रभवं न महर्षयः अहमादिर्हि देवानां महर्षीणां च सर्वसः. Translation. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. So, at the outset, Krishna clarifies that information about Krishna cannot be obtained from any other source other than himself. Even if you approach Devatas like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, they cannot tell because they were created by Krishna. So they also will not know. They will know only what Krishna wills them to know. So everything is controlled by Krishna's will. Same with the great sages also. They have also been created by Krishna through Brahma, but they are all created by Krishna. They also are only the second and third stage of creation, so they also will not know. So let us understand, if the great sages cannot understand Krishna, do you think our scholars who are interpreting Bhagavad Gita will know Krishna? These scholars, compared to the great sages, how much knowledge they have? What is the spiritual content in these people? So we should clearly know that Bhagavad Gita is the correct source of information. Not only that, Bhagavad Gita we should learn from the parampara system of bona fide guru-sishya relationship in the Vaishnava system. Wherever else you go for knowledge of Krishna, even through Bhagavad Gita, you will not be able to obtain. So here this word Aham Adi, I am highlighting. It says, I am the origin of everything. So there is simply no one who would know Krishna more than himself. So I am summarizing the contents of shloka number 3 to 7 here. Here, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Because Krishna is the origin of everything, so obviously Krishna is the cause of all causes. Brahmaji sings in Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam. He talks about Krishna as Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the highest controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachitananda Vigraha. He is a form of bliss, completely bliss. Sarva Sachitananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda. He has no beginning and he is the beginning of everything. And he is the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. So, Krishna informs us, if you understand Krishna's supreme position, that will free you from all sins and illusions. So, we are looking for so many solutions to our problems. All of us are interested in becoming free from material bondage and attaining mukti or moksha. But here Krishna gives the easiest way. Just you have to know Krishna. Then you will be freed from all sins and illusions. How to know Krishna? Through the parampara system of guru-disciple in the Vaishnava system. Because Krishna will reveal himself only to his devotees. And through the parampara system, we can come to know Krishna very well. And simply by knowing Krishna, we are liberated. So what a simple way compared to how the jnanis and yogis and karmis are struggling in their life for liberation. They will not get it. Whereas a devotee who with faith listens to Krishna will become liberated. And Krishna says, I have created the qualities of living beings only for facilitating their evolution. What are these qualities? A sample list is given here. Our intelligence, knowledge, conviction, forgiveness, sense and mind control, non-violence, birth, death, everything has been created by Krishna. So this entire material creation, earlier we were hearing from Krishna that my external energy and my superior energy, they are activating the entire material world. Jiva Shakti is the superior energy of Krishna, and the material energy is the inferior Shakti of Krishna. Both are Krishna's energies, and by the combination of these two, arranged by Krishna, material world is operating. Now Krishna is saying the various qualities that are present in this material creation, they are also created by him to facilitate our evolution, which means if I become a devotee of Krishna, if I join the Guru Sishya Parampara with faith, humility, and gratitude, all the good qualities which are necessary will develop in me automatically. For a devotee of Krishna, good qualities automatically develop and lead him towards Krishna. For other people, there are other inferior qualities that will take them lower and lower categories of existence. Krishna says, I am the original seed giver. You know, a plant grows from a seed. Similarly, a child grows from the seed given by the father into the womb of the mother. So whatever that grows starts from a seed. And Krishna says, everything comes from the original seed given by me. So Krishna is the seed of everything. That way, Krishna is the father of everyone who exists. He is the creator of the Prajapatis, progenitors. They are the original rishis who were created through Brahma. They populated the whole universe with living entities. But the original seed was given to them by Krishna. So Krishna is the original seed giver. So we can all claim to be Krishna's children. Not only we should claim, but we should see everybody as a child of Krishna. In that sense, there will be complete peace and love and cooperation in this world when we appreciate that everybody is a child of Krishna and entitled to good treatment. This is shloka number 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Again. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is a very important shloka. I would suggest that all of you try to memorize it also. Krishna says, everything, not only this material creation, the spiritual creation has also emanated from me. An intelligent person who understands me to be the source of everything, he starts doing bhakti to me. Bhakti means devotional service, and he will worship me with all his heart. So he is recommending the same thing to all of us. Now that we have come to know by listening to Arjuna that Krishna is the original source of everything. There is nothing beyond him. Everything is contained within Krishna, and Krishna is beyond everything. By understanding this, we should start performing devotional service to Krishna. Shloka number 9. Machitta madgata prana bodhayantaha parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Again. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Translation. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So Krishna says, anyone who is lacking faith in Krishna, his life will be wasted and ruined, and he will degrade into inferior forms of life. But those who are devotees of Krishna, their thoughts are constantly dwelling on him, Machitta. mat gata prana. They are constantly surrendered to Him. Their entire life is surrendered to Krishna. Their mind is full of His thoughts. And then what do? His devotees? Odayantaha parasparam. They are talking about Krishna to each other. Either they are talking or listening. Then they are listening and the other person is talking. Like this, exchanges are going on among the devotees of Krishna about Krishna all the time. By doing this, they derive great bliss. They are enlightening one another and conversing about Krishna, and in the process, there is so much bliss created. This is called Sadhu Sangha. When you come in the association of devotees, you will hear only about Krishna and the devotees of Krishna, nothing else. We say, how to know someone has eaten onion? Just when he opens his mouth, the smell of onion will come. Same way, devotees who are absorbed and have become mad in the thoughts of Krishna, they are fully soaked in Krishna. So when they open their mouth, they will only talk about Krishna. And that is what we should all aspire for. We should try constantly to remember Krishna and serve Him and devotees. So this chapter I have put more of shlokas because these shlokas are all very, very important. You can sing along with me, or you can simply allow the shloka to enter into your ears and through the ears into your heart and to purify you. These shlokas are the spoken words of Krishna. They carry tremendous power. These sound vibrations have great power to purify us. And as I explained in a previous class, there is no difference between Krishna and the words spoken by Krishna. They are one and the same. So in this mood, if we listen to Bhagavad Gita, we will experience tremendous transformation in our heart. Here Krishna is glorifying his devotees. The more and more Krishna glorifies, he is never satisfied. He wants to talk more and more about them. Here is one more shloka. Tesham satata yukta nam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Again. Tesham satata yukta nam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Again, we have to take a very important message from here that we cannot go back to Krishna unless He will help us. So everything is under the control of Krishna's will. So when Krishna wills, it happens. It is a fact. Whatever Krishna desires, it is a fact. It happens. So if Krishna wants that, oh, this particular devotee is serving me nicely with love, I want to take him back to me. Then what he does? He gives the understanding. It is called Buddhi Yogam. Buddhi Yogam means real intelligence. So we have some intelligence, but our intelligence is not real. It is all false intelligence. If you slightly meditate on that, you will understand all our intelligence is false. It starts from the wrong assumption that I am the body. It starts from the wrong assumption that this material world is real. So because of that, every time we become trapped. We think we are making nice progress and suddenly we start slipping. Those who are active in the stock market will know. Suddenly they find everything going up. They want to invest, and suddenly there is a stock market collapse. And those people who thought, oh, I am predicting so nicely, suddenly they have lost all their investment. Such false intelligence we have. That is because we don't know Krishna as the original source of everything. Once we accept that Krishna as the original source, as the intelligence behind creation, the creation is actually lifeless, but the life in creation is injected by Lord Sri Krishna. So, to those devotees who are constantly serving Him, Krishna gives the real intelligence. So, Buddhi Yogam means real intelligence, which again means the intelligence with which you can go back to Krishna. That is the intelligence we need. If we don't know how to go back to Krishna, what is the use of all our intelligence? All the intelligence will keep us trapped in this material world. Whether we try Jnana Yoga or Raja Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, all these yogas, if we don't have Krishna Bhakti, all of them will actually become traps for our material existence. 11th shloka. Krishna continues, Tesham yevanu kampartam aham ajnanajam tamaha nasayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. Again. Tesham yevanu kampartam aham ajnanajam tamaha nasayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Please understand, in all our hearts there is darkness, and it is born of ignorance. Without ignorance, we would not have come into this material world. We would have remained in the spiritual world. So it is a sign that our heart is filled with darkness. Ajnanajam tamaha. Ajnana means ignorance, and jam means that is born. Tama means darkness. Ajnanajam tamaha. The darkness of our heart is born from our ignorance. But Krishna says, I will give you special mercy. Anukampartham. He gives special mercy to his devotees only. What does he do? Jnana deepena bhashvata. He will light the lamp of knowledge in their heart. How? Because Krishna is sitting in their heart. Krishna is sitting in everybody's heart. So when he sees a particular candidate is really hankering for Krishna, he has no other desire except Krishna, and he is doing pure devotional service, then what Krishna does? He lights the lamp of wisdom with which all the darkness goes away from his heart. Krishna Surya Saman, Maya Andakar. Jaha Krishna, Taha Nahi, Maya Ka Adhikar. Krishna is like the sun. When the sun rises, there is no room for any darkness. So this is the lamp of wisdom we all need. But how to get it? By doing devotion to Krishna. Otherwise, we will remain in darkness of ignorance. Anukampartham means to show special mercy. To become a candidate for the special mercy, we should become a pure devotee of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita shows the way how to do that. So, after Krishna is saying all this, how should we receive this pure knowledge coming from Krishna? This is pure, shining knowledge, no adulteration. It is coming from the Supreme Lord who is completely pure. This knowledge is also pure, and Arjuna will show us the way how to receive this pure knowledge. So, shloka number 12 and 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham sasvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum. Again, param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham sasvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum. Ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshirnaradhastata ashito devalo vyasaha swayam chaiva bravishime. Again, ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshirnaradhastata ashito devalo vyasaha swayam chaiva bravishime. Translation. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, absolute person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Ashita, Devala and Vyasa confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. How beautifully Arjuna says. This is how we should receive what Krishna is telling us. We should accept Krishna. You are the Supreme Person. You are the supreme shelter for everyone. You are the purest and the absolute truth. There is no contamination in you. Whatever you say, I can completely accept. You are the eternal, transcendental, absolute person. This is very important. Please note, it is not that he is a power or a force or an energy or a cosmic Shakti, something like that. He is the owner of all this, but he is a person. He is a person like you and I. He is a person. Only thing, he is the source of all of us. He is the maintainer of all of us. We are all dependent on him. All our desires will be satisfied by him only. We have no other way to become happy and contented. He is the only source of our happiness. He is unborn. He is the greatest. So this is confirmed by all great sages. And now Arjuna says, you are also confirming it to me, Krishna. I am accepting whatever you say in toto. How wonderful if we can also do that. Krishna is giving unmixed, unadulterated truth to us. Are we ready to take it? When we take it, what we will do? Immediately our life will change. We will no longer act as though we are the proprietors, we are the controllers, and we are the enjoyers. We will give this position to Krishna. We will make Krishna the proprietor of our house. We will make Krishna the controller of our house and the enjoyer of whatever we do. We will never try to enjoy anything separately from Krishna. When we cook something, we will first offer it to Krishna. And something is not fit for offering to Krishna, then we will not eat it. For example, meat. It is not acceptable to Krishna, so we become vegetarians. But what is not offered to Krishna is not edible. So we are called prasadarians. We are not vegetarians or non-vegetarians. Devotees are prasadarians. We should understand all these things. We should not simply read Bhagavad Gita, close it, and continue our same old life. Bhagavad Gita is a book of transformation. We should start practicing at least little by little whatever we learn. For example, you all know the Mahamantra. That Mahamantra chanting you should do daily. So every week when you come for this class, your understanding will deepen. Many people may be hearing this class, but some of you will be understanding it at deeper and deeper level. This is a power of scripture. The scripture is accessible to people depending on their purification inside. So if you are chanting regularly and if you are offering your whatever you cook to Krishna first and then you are taking prasadam, your tongue is getting purified. Tongue has two activities. One is eating, another is speaking. So you eat Krishna prasadam and you vibrate Mahamantra of Krishna in your tongue. You become completely purified by that. And then your understanding will deepen. How to know your understanding deepening? You will feel great joy to hear about Krishna. Every devotee feels great joy to hear about Krishna. The same thing will happen to you also. 14th sloka. Again, Arjuna is speaking. Sarvametadritam manye yanmam vadasi kesava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidur devana danava. Again. Sarvametadritam manye yanmam vadasi kesava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidur devana danava. Translation. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods or the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. So, how can we understand Krishna? We have to accept whatever Krishna tells as truth. This is called descending knowledge. Avarohan Pantha. True knowledge can only descend. Why? Because absolute truth is the highest. Absolute truth is at the top of everything and it has to only descend. When we will reach absolute truth by climbing, we climb 2 steps, we slip 5 steps. So we will never reach the absolute truth. So Krishna is the absolute truth. So how to know that absolute truth? We have to accept whatever Krishna says. We should not question it. We should not doubt it. If we doubt it, we are finished. So if you can, in the mood of Arjuna, if whatever we are hearing now from Krishna, if you can accept it, your purification has already started. How to know? Your life starts changing. Your behavior starts changing. You will start getting up early You will start taking an early bath. You will start doing your japa. You will start having Krishna in the center of your altar. If your altar is crowded with so many devatas, they will start getting out one by one, until Krishna occupies your altar entirely. And whatever you cook, you will cook for Krishna and you will offer it to Krishna. You will start worshipping Tulsi as the pure devotee of Krishna. You will start developing relationships with other devotees of Krishna, exchanging thoughts about Krishna. You will start reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam on a daily basis. You will start listening to lectures from devotees. You will not try to get some knowledge of Gita from non-devotees, even though they may be scholars and they can speak beautifully. So these transformations will start appearing in you once you accept Gita as absolute truth. What you are hearing now as absolute truth. There is no other way. Neither the devatas nor demons can understand Krishna's personality unless he himself tells. So this is Arjuna's statement. It is made for all of us. Arjuna continues. Swayamevatmanatmanam vetatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesa deva deva jagatpate. Swayamevatmanatmanam vetatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesa deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. How beautifully Arjuna is glorifying. We should develop this practice of glorifying Krishna daily. When we go in front of altar and look at the beautiful form of Krishna, we should not immediately start crying, oh Krishna, I want this, I want that, please give me this. This did not happen as I wanted, that should happen, I want this, I want that. Like that, we should not immediately start lamenting before Krishna. When we stand in front of Krishna, he is our Father. Let us appreciate him, let us glorify him. Then love and joy will automatically well up in our heart. We will no longer feel like complaining. We should not go in front of Krishna with teary eyes. Yes, tears can come out of joy only. We have such a wonderful Father. What is our problem? Krishna is the supreme well-wisher of everyone. Where is our problem? As long as we did not know this, we were worried and anxious and afraid. We thought everything in this world is happening by chance. So we don't know what will happen to me next, whether I will be alive tomorrow, I am taking a train, whether the train will meet with an accident, I am taking a flight, whether the pilot will doze off in the middle of the flight. There is so much uncertainty in my life, whether my share market will give me the rewards I want, whether my job will be safe. All these anxieties, they come because we did not know that there is a supreme power, Krishna, who is managing everything. My own karma, the fruits are coming back to me. So once I decide, henceforth, I will not do foolish things in my life. I will live everything according to Krishna's plan. What Krishna wants, I will live accordingly. Once we make such a decision, where is fear and anxiety in our life? This world will become Vaikuntha for us. Actually, for devotees, this world is Vaikuntha. They don't even tell Krishna, please take me back to Vaikuntha. They say, no, I want to remain here because so many of your children are suffering because they don't have this knowledge. I want to pass it on to them and I will send them all back to you. I will be the last person to come. That is the mood of devotees, because the moment you know Krishna and love Krishna, your heart is filled with joy. There is no more fear and anxiety. So, here is shloka number 16 to 19. I am summarizing. This talks about the mood of the devotee and how Krishna reciprocates to the devotee. Arjuna says, O Supreme Lord, please tell me in detail your divine opulences which pervade the whole world or the universe, so that I can know you and constantly think of you. I want to hear more and more about you from you, which is nectar to my ears. This is how we should be. We should always want to know more and more about Krishna. By the way, let me tell you one small information. In Bhagavad Gita, we have very little information about Krishna. We are hearing only the glories of Krishna in terms of his greatness and power. How he is manifesting his power in this material world. That is what we are hearing. You are not hearing much of his sweetness at all. That sweetness, if you want to know, you have to read Srimad Bhagavatam. God willing, once we complete this course, we may be able to talk something about Krishna in future courses. So please understand, Krishna is very, very sweet. Krishna means Madhuram. Madhuradipade Akilam Madhuram. A great devotee called Vallabhacharya sings, Krishna, everything about you is sweet. Everything about you. Your beautiful face, your beautiful eyes, your beautiful mouth, and your beautiful smile. Everything is Madhuram, Madhuram, Madhuram. So he says, you are so sweet. So once we develop love for Krishna, we are experiencing that sweetness of Krishna. So Arjuna is no longer asking Krishna, I am worried, I don't want to fight, etc. He is saying, your divine opulences, whatever you are explaining, it thrills me. I want to hear more and more about you so that I can meditate about you. When I am not hearing about you, I will meditate about you. Please tell me about you, from you. And it is like nectar going into my ears. Then Krishna reciprocates. He says, yes, Arjun, I will tell you. Because you are such a pure devotee and you love to hear about me. But I will tell you only some of them because my opulences are limitless. Krishna's opulences are unlimited. So here, I am just giving one or two shlokas where Krishna describes his glories. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutasya Stitaha Sarva Bhutasa Yastitaha Ahamadischa Madhyamcha Bhutanam Antayevacha. Again, Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutasa Yastitaha Ahamadischa Madhyamcha Bhutanam Antayevacha. Vedanam Samavedosmi Devanamasmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manaschasmi Bhutanamasmi Chetana. This is shloka number 20 and 22. Vedanam Samavedosmi Devanamasmi Vasavaha Indriyanam Manaschasmi Bhutanamasmi Chetana. Summary of the meaning I am giving. I am the super soul in everyone's heart. I am the beginning, end, and middle of all. Among Vedas, I am Samaveda, which is beautifully musical. Indra among demigods. Indra is the king of all the devatas, and that Indra is my opulence. Among the senses, I am the mind. We all know mind is the most powerful among senses. When the mind goes to sleep, our senses go to sleep. We don't even recognize our body once we go to sleep. What to speak about the senses? So Krishna is the mind among senses. And among living beings, he is the living force. He is the consciousness. Just imagine, your consciousness and my consciousness is actually Krishna. If I don't have the consciousness, what can I do? My body may be there. My senses and mind may be there. But I don't have consciousness. What is the use of all these things? So Krishna is the living force. Like that, Krishna is going to give details. He is the super soul in everyone's heart. Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart as the super soul. So like this, we have tried to give you some pictures of some of the things that Krishna describes. So we have to understand, everyone in creation shines by the borrowed opulence of Krishna. Supposing I am very intelligent in my office and everybody appreciates me, I should never become proud. I should know my intelligence is given by Krishna. My skill is given by Krishna. My beauty is given by Krishna. My bank balance and my wealth is given by Krishna. Because he is the owner of all opulences. He is the creator of all opulences. So, where is the question of me being great? There is no greatness in me. I am proud of borrowed plumes. There is a proverb in English which says, don't be proud of borrowed plumes. You are decorating yourself by borrowing from somebody. And what is there to be proud of? So, Krishna's opulences manifest in all the magnificent things and personalities in creation. So here Krishna is saying, I am the Brihaspati among priests. Brihaspati or Guru is the teacher of Indra. He is in heaven. He is the teacher of the demigods. You can imagine how wise he is. And Krishna says, I am Brihaspati, which means the wisdom in Brihaspati is given by Krishna. So one of the opulences of Krishna is manifesting through him. So here is Lord Shiva. He is the master controller of this material creation, and he is the Lord of Tamoguna. We know about 3 gunas. He is the Lord of Tamoguna. And where does Shiva get that power from? From Krishna. So Krishna says there are 11 Rudras. Among them, he is Shiva. So he is the most powerful among all the Rudras. And Krishna says, I am Rudra. And he says again, I am Indra, the king of the Devatas. And the elephant that he is riding, that is called Airavat, that also Krishna says, I am that Airavat. So everything is Krishna. Everywhere you see opulence, it is Krishna. And he says, I am Kartik among divine generals. You know, when there was a huge war between the Devatas and demons, there was someone called Surapadma, and they had to fight, and he could not be killed by anyone who was born from a woman. So ultimately, Kartik is born directly from Lord Shiva, and he leads all the Devatas in that battle, and he comes out successfully. He is the greatest general among Devatas. So Krishna says, I am Kartik. So the opulence that Kartik is manifesting is actually coming from Krishna. So this is the way we should learn to see. We should never envy anyone. Supposing you see somebody who is more beautiful than you, you should not envy, because there is actually manifestation of Krishna's beauty. A spark of Krishna's beauty is manifesting in that person. If you see somebody powerful, you should not become envious. You should rather say, oh, I am seeing a spark of Krishna's strength in this person. So like that, we should learn to always see Krishna in everything, and we are no longer disturbed. We become happy actually by remembering Krishna. This person is helping me to remember Krishna because he is displaying an opulence of Krishna. Among Vasus, I am fire. So Agni is actually the power of Krishna. The power to burn everything down, that power comes from Krishna. Among large water bodies, I am the ocean. So you can imagine when you stand in the beach, you look at the ocean, you will remember, oh, this is Krishna. This is the opulence of Krishna. Among mountain peaks, I am Meru. And Prabhupada explains, Meru is the source of very precious metals and stones. It is gold. Meru itself is made of gold. So Krishna says, among mountain peaks, I am Meru. And among mountains, I am the Himalayas. Among Deva Rishis, I am Narada. And among sages, I am Bhrigu. Bhrigu was actually first created by Brahma. When he created the 7 sages, Bhrigu was the earliest. Some of you might know, Bhrigu wanted to test who is the greatest Devata among Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So they repeated him, you go and find out. Bhrigu went first to Brahmaloka, and he did not pay obeisances to Brahma. Brahma is his father, so Brahma became very upset because he did not show any respect. The moment he could observe anger on Brahma's face, he left the place. He went to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was very happy to see Bhrigu because Bhrigu is actually his brother. Both were born from Brahma. So Shiva came to embrace him, and Bhrigu used some very harsh language to tell him, don't touch me. You are wearing the ashes from the crematorium. You are so dirty. You are wearing snakes on your body. I don't want you to touch me. I will become unclean if you touch me, like that. By words, he insulted him. Then immediately Shiva became very angry and lifted his trident. And Bhrigu said, oh, he is also not able to control his anger. Then he went to Vishnu. Vishnu was lying in his snake bed, and Mahalakshmi was massaging his lotus feet. And Bhrigu went straight and kicked him on the chest. So first it was mental offense to Brahma, verbal offense to Shiva, and physical offense to Vishnu. And Vishnu immediately got up from his seat and started picking up the feet of Bhrigu and massaging, saying, "Oh, your feet are so soft. My chest must be so hot. I hope I have not hurt you." And then Bhrigu started crying. Because Bhrigu actually is a devotee only, but because he had to find out who is the Supreme Lord, how did he check it? Who has the best control of emotions? Who has no ego at all? This is the test he made. You may be surprised. Is this the way to test God? We would rather tell him who can lift the mountain, who can lift the universe. We will give them tests like that. But Bhrigu is the highest sage. He knew real strength is strength of your inner enemies, not the strength of external enemies. I am able to kill somebody. I am able to overpower somebody. That's not my power. I should be able to control my lust, my anger, my greed, my envy, all these bad qualities in me. I should be able to control them. So Bhrigu certified Vishnu is the Supreme Lord because he is able to control an insult done to him physically. So that is Bhrigu. Krishna says, I am Bhrigu and I am the sun among the luminaries, and among the stars I am moon. You can imagine in the night the sky is filled with stars but the light is coming only from the moon. So Krishna says, I am the moon among stars and I am the thunderbolt among weapons. Actually, thunderbolt is a weapon of Indra. Indra is the god of rain and his weapon is called thunderbolt. The thunderbolt can even shatter mountain peaks. That powerful weapon, Krishna says, I am that thunderbolt. If you read Bhagavatam, you will come to know more details about how the thunderbolt was made. Very, very interesting stories. And I am the Lord of death. You can see Yama. Krishna says, I am the Lord of death. And I am Kuvera among Yakshas. How many of you know about Kuvera? He is the treasurer of the demigods. Whatever treasure the demigods have, it is all given by him. And they all go for his blessings for wealth. In this world also, people always try to pray to Kuvera for giving them more and more wealth. But that is a opulence given by Krishna. It is a borrowed opulence from Krishna that Kuvera has become a treasurer. It is by Krishna's blessing. Among creators, I am Brahma. So you can see, Brahma is created by Vishnu and then Brahma proceeds to create the rest of the universe. So basically, Brahma's power of creation also is given by Krishna only. So this way, we come to know the unlimited opulences of Krishna. He gives so many other opulences. I have listed only some of them here. So the mantra Om, is very special. All the Vedic mantras, they start with Om. And if Yajna, whatever you chant, is not prefixed by Om, it becomes useless. But you also need a certain amount of purity to be able to chant the mantra Om. Krishna says that Om sound is me. Among various kinds of mantra vibrations, I am the Om, which is the essence. All the Vedas are actually floating on the sound vibration Om. And it is from Om that all the 14 planetary systems have been created. Bhur, Bhuva, Suva, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, Satya, then Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Taratala, Rasatala, Patala. There are 14 planetary systems. All these are emanating from the sound Om. So when Krishna wanted to create this material world, he set in motion this sound Om, from which everything has come. So Om is supposed to be they say it is the generator. When the generator runs, there is a humming sound. So this is the sound of the hum of the generator of this creation. Om. Krishna says that is me. And very interestingly, among various yagyas, the Vedas contain so many yagyas you perform to fulfill your desires. Krishna says, among yagyas, I am Japa Yajna. Among the senses, I am the mind. Among living beings, I am the living force. Among various sciences, I am the spiritual science. Adhyatma Gyan. We get so many material knowledge in this world. All are useless when we die. But when you get Atma Gyan, you become liberated. Krishna says, I am that science. And then he says, Mrityu Sarva Haras Chaham. Among destroyers, I am death. You can imagine. There are so many destroyers. There are bulldozers like that. There are so many equipments that destroy. But Krishna says, I am death. I am the supermost destroyer. I destroy everything. Among men, I am the king. Among purifiers, I am the wind. How beautiful. Then I am adventure, I am strength, I am victory. Like that, Krishna goes on listing. Ultimately, we come to sloka number 40. Krishna would say, Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa yesha tuddhe satah prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. Again, Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa yesha tuddhe satah prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is a mere indication of my infinite opulences. So I hope with this you would all have understood Krishna's glories are infinite. Anywhere you see glory, it is simply a spark of Krishna's glory. So he is saying Parantapa means destroyer of enemies. So my divine manifestations are endless. I have just given you a clue how great they are. That's all. So, Uddeshataha means examples. I am just giving you some samples. That's all. 41. Krishna continues. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimat urjitam eva va tat tad eva vagachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimat urjitam eva va tat tad eva vagachatvam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Translation. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Krishna's splendor is unlimited. From one spark of that splendor, everything opulent, beautiful and glorious is emanating. If you remember the 7th chapter what we read, Krishna said, the whole material creation is just one of my energies. Bhumirapuna lovayu kammana buddhirevacha ahankari yamme bhinna prakritirashtada. This energy I have separated from me. That is the whole material creation. And all the jivatmas, your soul and my soul, all the souls, they are all simply another energy of Krishna. The entire spiritual world is also a creation of Krishna, his energy. So Krishna's energies are unlimited. He is the Shaktiman. Everything else is his Shakti. He is the Shaktiman. So wherever we see glory, that is all coming from Krishna. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, how can I go on listing everything to you? Please understand, Arjun, whatever wonderful things you see in creation, they are all emanating from me. And just from a spark of my splendor, Krishna explained how the space is supporting the wind. We see the storm, it destroys whole cities, but the space is undisturbed. There is wind raging. The storm, cyclone, tornado is raging. But what is happening to the space? It is as it is, undisturbed. There is no effort on the part of space to hold the wind. Same way, Krishna is holding everything effortlessly. Not like Atlas, who is trying to, with great difficulty, he is holding the earth on his back. Krishna has no such difficulty. He is effortlessly supporting the entire creation. So Krishna is telling that. Tejomsha means the spark of the splendor of Krishna. Tejomsha sambhavam. So 42 sloka. Atava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekamshena stito jagat. Atava bahunaitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekamshena stito jagat. Translation. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Now, where is the doubt about the glories of Bhagavan? Now we know who is Bhagavan. He is effortlessly, just with a tiny fragment of himself. He's pervading, which means he's present in every atom. Krishna is present in every atom and in every soul. So the entire creation is pervaded by him. But at the same time, he is beyond everything. It is not that he is making any effort. Krishna is happily enjoying in Goloka, in Vaikuntha. He is constantly enjoying. That is why one German came to India. He thought, there are so many gods and goddesses here. I want to find out who is supreme. He did not take a guide. He visited so many temples. And finally he came to the conclusion, I have found out who is the supreme God. Who is that? He said, I saw every god is carrying some weapon or some tools with which they are doing some work. Either there is a trident, or there is a japamala, or there is some book, or there is some Ankusha Pasha. They are all carrying something, they are all having work. But I saw this one god who is only dancing always, and he's having a flute in his hands. So he must be the Supreme Lord. He came to that conclusion. Another great thinker in Europe, he said, I don't believe in God. If I should believe, can believe in a God who can dance, who knows to dance. I can only believe that God. So Krishna is constantly dancing with a flute in his hand. So Krishna is telling Arjun, please understand, my glories are unlimited. Here I wanted to close with a small description of Brahma Vimohan Leela. Maybe we have already discussed that. I will just explain what message to take away from this. Brahma, when he saw Krishna as a small child sitting in Vrindavan along with all his friends and having his lunch, he got a doubt how he can be the Supreme Lord. He is so innocent. He is playing with all these boys. He is not even observing the rules of the scripture. Juta, you are not supposed to take what is coming from somebody else's mouth. You should not eat according to scripture. But here Krishna, his friends are eating something and they say, oh, it is so nice, Krishna should eat. And they take it out of their mouth and feed it to Krishna. And Krishna is happily eating it. So when Brahma saw it, he became bewildered. He thought, I should check him out. So what he did, he hid all the calves somewhere. And when Krishna went in search of the calves, he hid all the Gopa boys in some other place. And Brahma disappeared for one moment by his time, 1 year by earth time. When he returned to see what happened, he saw everything was in its place. All the Gopa boys were with Krishna. They were still playing. Brahma was wondering, for 1 year are they still playing here? And he went and checked out. The boys he had hidden, they are all there only lying hidden. They are in Yoga Nidra. He checked up the calves. Calves are also where he has hidden them. But here Krishna is with all the calves and all the boys. And what Krishna was holding at that time, handful of dahi rice, curd rice with nice fruits sticking out. Same thing he is still holding in his hand. And Brahma got bewildered. And then he saw all the Gopa boys transformed into Mahavishnu. All the calves transformed into Mahavishnu in front of Brahma's eyes. Each of them was a Vishnu. And by the side of the Vishnu, Brahma saw himself. Around each Vishnu, there was a Brahma and Shiva. And they could see the whole creation. And Brahma was bewildered. He was almost going to faint. Then suddenly Krishna covered everything. And once again he saw the little baby Krishna with the curd rice in his hand. Then Brahma understood, my God, he's a supreme mystic. What am I in front of Krishna? I am like a firefly. In the darkness of night, the firefly can glow and everybody can say, oh, how beautiful the firefly is. But when the sun rises, where is the firefly? It loses all its shine. So Brahma said, oh Lord, I am nothing. I am totally bewildered by you. Now I declare that I can never fully understand you. Let those who claim that they have understood you let them claim. But as far as I am concerned, even I can understand every atom in the creation, if I can count them, still I would not know you. It is impossible to know you. So we have to take this lesson from Brahma. Brahma is the original creator of this creation. He says, I cannot know you. How can we believe somebody who says, I know God? Or somebody who says, I am God? Can somebody be God? Can they display all the wonderful potencies of Krishna? So we should become very clear in our mind. If we are worshipping someone as God, there is no harm. We should understand that person is getting the power from Krishna. So when I worship that God, I am actually worshipping Krishna through him or her. Unless Krishna gave that power, nobody can have that power. So whichever God is my favorite, there is no harm. But I should worship that God going forward in the full consciousness that actually I am worshipping Krishna through this person. This person is a part and parcel of Krishna. All the devatas are part and parcel of Krishna. So when we worship them, we are actually worshipping Krishna. So out of then, when Brahma prayed like that, out of causeless mercy, Krishna showed him his eternal residence, Goloka. And then Brahma sang this beautiful Brahma Samhita. Maybe another day we will discuss that. In that Brahma Samhita, he describes Goloka. He says, in Goloka, every dust particle is a Chintamani stone. What is Chintamani stone? It can fulfill whatever you desire. That is Chintamani stone. Every cow and calf in Goloka is a Surabhi cow. Do you know what is Surabhi cow or Kamadhenu? It has the desire to fulfill whatever you want. And every tree in Goloka is a Kalpavriksha tree. You know what is a Kalpavriksha tree? It is a tree that can satisfy every desire that you have instantly. And every gopi in Goloka is Lakshmi, is an expansion of, they are all Lakshmis. Lakshmi Sahasra Savasambrama Sevyamana. Crores of Lakshmis are serving him. You know who is Lakshmi? She is the goddess of fortune. We are all waiting for a glance of Lakshmi. But there are millions of Lakshmis waiting for a glance of Krishna in Goloka. And in Goloka, every step, people don't walk, they dance. And every word, they don't speak, they sing. And the water flowing in Goloka is pure Amrita, nectar. It's like that. Briefly, Krishna showed Brahma a glance of Goloka. And Brahma sang like this. That is the place to which Krishna is inviting all of us. We can all go back there. We are all entitled to go there because it is our father's property. Our father's property automatically comes to the child, right? So, with this, we come to the end of the 10th chapter. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee of Krishna, we are able to hear and speak all these glories from Bhagavad Gita. If someone reads Bhagavad Gita translated and commented by others who are not in the parampara, you will not get the nectar what we are churning now. I am sure all of you are enjoying the message of Bhagavad Gita, particularly from 7th chapter onwards, where the Supreme Lord is describing himself for our benefit. How wonderful. We all like to hear more and more and more about Krishna. So once again, I request all of you to chant the Maha Mantra daily, morning and evening, and then you will be able to relish this Bhagavad Gita message increasingly in the coming days. And you will want to pick up a copy of Bhagavad Gita and start reading yourself. I am just giving you a small glimpse because in 1 hour to discuss one chapter, how can we do that? We are just selectively discussing the contents. But if you pick up Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book written by Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, I wrote my books in my ecstasy. Krishna dictated, I have written. So when I read my books, even it is fresh to me. That's what Prabhupada said. You can read the book thousands of times, it will still remain fresh for you. So I invite all of you to please enter into the ecstasy of Krishna Bhakti. Start practicing from now on. Chant the holy names daily, morning and evening with a mala. Offer your food to Krishna before eating. Try to lead your life as an offering to Krishna. Remember Krishna as the head of your family, so that the rest of the members of the family are all servants of Krishna. And naturally you cooperate. Nobody is higher, nobody is lower. Everybody is a child of Krishna. Everybody is a servant of Krishna in love. So let us all chant the Mahamantra and close this session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Mm-hmm.